Can you talk about the impact of multiple deployments on soldiers?
Well, I know a lot of guys who served in Vietnam. I knew some of them had multiple deployments. For the most part, they all did one and done. And it's now 40, 50 years later, and they still struggle with it for one deployment. So I'll call it our current class of veterans, to be in a combat zone, whether or not you're the guy that's kicking indoors, or whether you're the guy sitting back in a fortified, the FOBs, that's what we called them. Whether or not you were sitting there in a fortified place where you can go to Burger King and watch a movie, there were still mortars coming over. There were still people getting killed in the porta-johns and all this safety area. So no matter where you were stationed, you were in a combat zone. And it's 24/7, and it plays with your mind. And for you to go through that, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you watching these soldiers coming back in the caskets. It's going to affect you when you have these mortars hitting and you're seeing people knowing that a guy walking to the chow hall the day before died in the spot that you're walking in. You're a human being. It's going to affect you. So then you come home. You're so glad to be home. You try to get back to normal. Get back with your family. Get back with your friends. Get back with being out of the war zone. You start figuring out how to get back to reality, life. You start your coping skills, and then boom, 8 months later, you're on your way back to the same location or a different location. It's on a human psyche. It's definitely going to take effect on them. I'm not going to remember the sergeant's name in Afghanistan who went through the village and shot up and burned all those people. I believe he was on his 5th or 6th deployment. And then on his first couple deployments, he was aces. He was like the best sergeant, good soldier. But after going so many times, his mind just went nuts, and he couldn't figure out who's the enemy, who's not the enemy. And he went in and he took it out on the whole damn village, because a human mind can only take so much. So we keep asking our soldiers, and when I say soldiers, I mean them all. Marines. I served downrange with people from the Coast Guard, the Navy, the Air Force. Everyone's down there. Active duty, reservists, National Guards, men, women, old, young. They all serve, and they're down there. And you send people back from multiple deployments, I'm sorry. But for me personally, I believe anybody that's exposed in a combat zone to the horrors of war, and yes, those young men and women who are kicking indoors and having hand-to-hand knife fights, absolutely. Back to those clerks or those people who are on a fortified base with mortars and bodies coming in and out, everyone's going to be affected. And that's when we talked about the PTSD in the beginning. I'm sorry. I truly believe it's completely underdiagnosed. I believe that any human being that's exposed to this has some form of it. Whether or not it's diagnosed, it's internal, it's there. And I believe that, frankly, anybody that's in this environment should definitely sit down and talk to therapists. Generally speaking, we talk to each other. Veterans talk to each other. American Legion's VFWs are filled with Korean, Vietnam. Unfortunately, World War II guys are dying off, but they've been therapy to each other for generations, and we need more help with where can people go to talk. Military, the reserves, the active duty component, our VA hospitals all need more therapists, psychiatrists, counselors. We need to make it 20-fold, because there's not enough. There's not enough downrange. There's not enough when we come home. They need to put a couple zeros behind the dollar amount in terms of what's spent at the VA for these services. In the military itself, across the board, need it, because my experience looking at this, is that the PTSD is a lot higher than anything that they think it is now.